Good morning, fellow woodturners, and welcome once again to another episode of The Naked Turner. Today I'm going to be turning a piece of white oak that was an offcut from a piece of wood from a house project that I'm working on right now. And I thought I would take the opportunity to turn this. It's about a 10 3/4, a little over 10 3/4 by 10 3/4 square by, I think it's 1 3/4 thick, or a little over 1 7/8 thick piece of this white oak, and I'm going to turn it into a square platter, and kind of wanted to show you a little bit about the preliminary layout process, because anytime you're turning a square item, it's very important that you get your faceplate centered up perfectly, so that everything, or not perfectly, but as close to perfection as possible. Perfection is always something that you can strive for but never achieve, but beautiful imperfection is something that it speaks for itself. If you can get something beautifully imperfect to the point where it appears to be almost perfect, then you know you're heading down the right path. So here we go. I'm going to show you the layout process and how to get your holes drilled to make sure you're nicely centered with your faceplate. Alright, so here's this piece, square piece of white oak. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And what I've done is I've very carefully, with a very fine pencil, taken and laid out, cross-hatching across from corner to corner to identify my center and to identify these 4 holes, because then what I can do is lay my faceplate over here, and if I get all 4 of my faceplate holes aligned on those lines, I can then take and pre-drill and then mount screws into my faceplate loosely first. And then give them a final tighten. There we go. Now it's firmly adhered or secured to my piece of oak. I'll be applying my spindle adapter at this point, and then the spindle adapter will go right onto my 1 1/4 by 8 TPI spindle. Alright, so the piece is mounted. It looks like it's very nicely centered, and I'm going to be creating a tenon on the bottom of this, and then once the tenon is there, I'll do a little bit of shaping on the outside edge. Alright, once again, don't forget the most important thing, which is safety when you're turning. Always remember to read, follow, and understand all of the shop safety for the tool that you're going to be utilizing. Be safe and wear eye protection. Alright, so I'm starting out with my round nose scraper. And now my square nose scraper. And switching over to my 1/2 inch skew. Placing a little bit of a dovetail, recessed dovetail on that, and that is looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, go just a little bit deeper. A little more shaping out here. Okay. Hopefully I'm not getting in the way here. Okay. Right about there. Okay, a little more shaking out here. Very, very carefully. Okay. Yep, straight back and forth. Oh, it's starting to sound different. Hear how it sounds different now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that means you're almost done. Okay, I think you got it. Let's feel it. Be careful here on the corners, but feel right here. See how smooth it is? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, touch it. See how smooth?
Yeah.
Ooh, good job. All right, that one's done. Ready? Now we're going to turn it one more time.
Okay.
You can sand this edge. Okay, blocking off the headstock. Okay, right there. Straight back and forth like this. Got it? Good job. Perfect. Keep going. I can hear it changing sounds. Hear it? You're almost there. Put a little bit more up here on the top. Shorter, like this. Okay. Let's see. I think you got it.
Smooth.
Ooh, nice and smooth, huh? Okay, I think we're done. You can hop down and go back to the swings. Alright. Alright, it's this piece has been sanded down by myself and my trusty assistant. Right? We sanded it down together.
Yeah.
And now we just put my assistant just put the first coat of finish on here, just like this, just rubbing it on. Now I'm putting a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm coating the ends. I have this sanded down to 320 right now.
Sanded down for 320.
Yeah, 320 grit sandpaper. And now we're just applying some of the friction rub finish to all edges and the back side needle. Whoops. That's okay. Here, let's make sure we're still framed up.
I gotta go inside.
Okay, you can go inside. Alright, so there we go. That's got a coat on now. Pretty much everywhere. And now I'm just going to buff this in. So I'm taking a fairly good sized piece of cotton, which they used to call your rubber, and then what I'm doing is taking the piece of rag that I already have some finish applied to and saturating it a little bit more with some finish. And I'll be turning this up and applying this next coat with a little bit of friction. And here's why I do the balling up. But out here, it can get a little bit aggressive on your hands. And it provides me with a level of protection from those potentially sharp and hard tips. Now I'm starting to apply a little more pressure as I'm moving back in here, and that'll heat up the finish and burnish it in. Alright, there we go. That's the bottom of the bowl. Now I'll be flipping it around and doing the inside. Alright, so now I have it mounted on my scrolling jaw chuck, and I have it tightened down, and I'm checking to see if I'm seated on here squarely. Now there could be a little bit of variance in the way this board is milled, so I'm just checking, and as you can see I have from that point to that point and that point. Okay, so this point here is a little bit closer, which means I'm going to tap that a little bit. Okay, I have a little space there, a little space there, a tiny bit more there. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my fence in so I'm touching right there. And I'm going to check here. Okay, so still this corner. Okay, a little bit more space. I take it up. Okay, now I'm touching there too. I'm just about touching there. And so this one. And I'm going to say that's about as close as I'm going to get this, because I can tell the piece of wood has a little bit of a warp to it. Now I'm going to, wait a second here. I'm noticing a slight split in my foot. Oh, I don't like that. Alright, we're going to have to take this off for a second. Okay, I had a little bit of a problem where the foot on this piece has a tiny split in it, and I'm a little concerned that it's not going to be deep enough to do its job. So I'm going to put this back on, try to get it recentered, and turn the mortise just a tiny bit deeper. I'm going to, whoops. So yeah, I had a problem where I had a split right here in my mortise for my scrolling jaw chuck, so I'm going to deepen that a little bit, and I stabilize that with some CA glue. Make sure I'm not going to clip anything anywhere. It looks like I'm pretty centered. Let's just see. You'll be able to tell real quick here. Yep, pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to take a little bit more of this shoulder away. And then dovetail in a little. Okay, going a little deeper out here on the edge. Alright, so we're flipped around, and as you saw, I had the problem with the mortise, which I'm still a little bit worried. I see the split down there, but it doesn't appear to be opening, and I've placed the jaws in a position where hopefully there's less pressure on that location. So hopefully that works. But I am a little nervous about it. Alright, I sharpened it up. I'm going to double check my depth again here. Let's get it to the high point, which is right about there. Into the center. I'm at 1 3/16, so I can go about another 3/16. Alright, so here's the shape of it. And now I just have to do some sanding and some finish. And I'll check back in with you as I'm getting ready to apply the finish. Alright, so unfortunately, as I was sanding this piece exploded on me. Like I said, there was a small split in this piece, and that's why it was the end of this board that I rejected on the job site. And I was so close. I was just sanding with 320 grit sandpaper, and decided to turn the speed up a little bit, which was probably a big mistake, because I was trying to get a little bit of a burnishing on it. And luckily, the only thing that happened to me was a tiny little nick there on my thumb. Actually looks worse than that with the blood on it, but it's just a tiny little nick from a corner, probably one of these little sharp edges that nicked me on the way off the lathe. But man, it definitely scared the piss out of me, and just went flying off in 2 opposite directions. And that's why when I'm doing even sanding or whatever it is, I like to make sure I have my trusty face shield on. Luckily it didn't come anywhere near my head, or it might have hurt me. But I'm going to see if maybe at some point I can figure out a way to do a Frank Howarth makes thing where I cut this segment of the bowl out and replace it with another strip. The only thing that'll be hard will be trying to figure out a way to create the new tenon in the bottom, which I'll probably have to just do with hand tools. So I'll see if at some point I repost this piece as a fix, but for now it's a failure. God, it was such a beautiful piece too. What a shame. Oh well. There it is. Unfinished. Naked Turner. White oak. Square platter.